The NBA playoffs has been flying by as fans are getting one of the most entertaining postseasons in a long time. Now that the first round is over, losing teams have to look ahead at what's next to come. I'm here to give my thoughts and opinions on what's expected for the 8 teams that have been eliminated. There's a lot to get into, so without further ado, let's get straight to it. The Brooklyn Nets make the playoffs as a 6th seed before getting swept by the 3-seeded 76ers. It was a very impressive second half of the season after basically forming a brand new team after all the drama they experienced during the KD and Kyrie experiment. Although they have a good roster with very few upcoming free agents, I believe that they should not try to quote-unquote run it back and look towards a rebuild for the future, and I'll tell you why. To start, they're what I like to call a tweener team, which means they're stuck in a weird spot where they don't have any superstars but a bunch of good players. They should either commit to a rebuild or go all in on building a contending team. I think they should commit to a rebuild around up-and-coming star Mikal Bridges. After getting traded from the Suns to the Nets, Bridges averaged 27 points on nearly 40% from 3 while maintaining his elite on-ball defense. By adding other young shot creators around Bridges, it will make his life a lot easier. They also could gauge his trade value to see how many picks they could get for him. This also isn't a terrible idea because if someone offers the right amount of first-round picks for him, they could speed up the rebuilding process. But if they were to keep their same team and run it back, there are a few moves I think they should make to improve. First, their biggest needs are guard depth, overall size, and wing scores to put next to Bridges. Although it's a weaker lower-tier free agency class, there are a few players that could help the Nets. If they're looking to keep building around the same team that they have, they should target players like Fred VanVleet and Jeremy Grant. After signing those players, they could look into the draft with their 2 draft picks and select players like Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State.
He's cut off on the baseline. Sensabaugh going to work in the post, and a nice post.
Trace Jackson Davis from Indiana.
Terrific 3-point shooter, 43% of the season. Davis.
Or Derek Lively from Duke.
Nice pass and the Lively dunk.
If they do sign a better PG than Spencer Dinwiddie, if he's not willing to come off the bench, then trading him and drafting a PG would not be a bad idea either. However, I do think he would be effective off the ball in Brooklyn. Next, sign a big man like Naz Reid or Jakob Poeltl. Reid has a very unique skill set and would pair very nicely next to either Nick Claxton or backing him up. Then, making a sign and trade deal involving Cam Johnson to a team like Cleveland who is looking to contend. I think they could get some good assets back for a player that is mainly a catch-and-shoot guy who doesn't raise the ceiling of the team. I don't think that they'll contend with the roster they currently have, and it'll just be stunting their own growth by not rebuilding unless they acquire a big name this offseason. With all that being said, I don't expect them to go into a full rebuild like I think they should, so going after some of the players I mentioned may be their most likely outcome. Next, the 8th seeded Minnesota Timberwolves finished their season with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seeded Denver Nuggets. A team that I thought would give the Nuggets fits actually kept the series competitive but could not withstand the injuries they suffered later in the season. I think they are closer to being contenders than they have in a long time, but have a few big decisions to make this offseason. The first one is to decide on staying committed to the double big experiment with Cat and Rudy Gobert or split from one another. I can see the vision between this lineup, but it does limit what Minnesota can do offensively because of their spacing. And with today's NBA and Anthony Edwards being the focal point of the offense, spacing is the most important thing for a guy with athletic abilities. I do expect them to run it back with the 2, although I think they should gauge Gobert's trade market. Next is keeping Naz Reid and rounding out their bench. Reid is one of the best young bigs in the league as he has a very unique skill set. They'll have to attack free agency or the trade market hard as they have no first-round picks this draft due to the Rudy Gobert trade. I really like the fight and effort Minnesota showed in that first round versus Denver, and in my opinion, if they were fully healthy, I think they could have taken down the number 1 seed. Heading back east, the 7th seed Atlanta Hawks went out in 6 games to the Boston Celtics. After making it out of the play-in, the Hawks took the reigning Eastern Conference champions to the wire before losing. Atlanta is another one of those teams who I also consider a tweener or a team that's 1 star or superstar away from contending. Although they traded for DeJounte Murray last summer, I don't think they will ever contend with a Murray and Young 1-2 punch, and I think they know that too. There have been rumors before the start of the playoffs of the Hawks wanting to trade Trae Young, but he shut all that down after his outstanding play in the Celtics series.
I didn't realize it was this bad until you started reading the report.
Yeah.
But it seems to me, Skip, they're over Trae Young. I mean, I guess they're not
I
about
think they should be over.
Yeah, it ain't about to be cold in the State Farm State Farm Arena anymore.
I personally don't see the point in trading Young unless they're heading towards a full rebuild. I think they're a path to becoming a better team for Atlanta, and it starts with trading key pieces in John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, and Bogdanovich. Although Hunter had a very productive series, I have never been too high on him, and I think by packaging him along with Bogey and others, they could potentially upgrade with a star that becomes available or gain another first-round pick. And John Collins' fall-off has been crazy to see after he got paid in 2021. He is honestly a liability at times for Atlanta. If I'm Atlanta, I'm offering every single team with stars that have the potential to be available Collins, Hunter, and Bogey. Capella is an option that they can move on from if they want to go young and start a conglue. They will have a mid-first round pick, so drafting a high-level wing scorer like Jordan Hawkins from UConn,
Mitchell Saxon has checked back in. Sanogo on the floor for Danny Hurley. Hawkins step back three. Puts it down and he is starting to cook.
or Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine will be a huge benefit for Atlanta.
Gets the flyby. Now Maxwell Lewis hits a three.
Overall, I'm not too high on the Hawks' pieces around Trae Young, so I think and fully expect everything to be on the table for them this summer. The biggest surprise in the entire NBA this season, the Sacramento Kings finished their year losing in 7 games to the reigning champs, the Golden State Warriors. The Kings absolutely exceeded expectations, however their inexperience showed up in a big way in Game 7. For their outlook on this offseason, I don't think that there are many moves that they need to make. Very often teams that are on the verge of contending overthink and make an impulse decision that sets them back further than they were. To start, I think Sacramento needs to move on from Harrison Barnes. There are many better younger options as he is aging and declining in production. Their biggest needs are center depth and wing players. We saw throughout that entire Kings series, Kevon Looney looked like prime wilt due to the Kings' lack of size on the interior, so trying to lure a Brook Lopez or Dwight Powell type player would do wonders for Sacramento. And using their first round pick on a young prospect like G.G. Jackson, who is nearly 6'10" and can play both on the wing and with his back to the basket, will help as well. Overall, I don't think any drastic moves will happen with the Kings, as one of the big things that will benefit them is experience playing at a high level, which they gained this year. The 4th-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers ended their season in disappointment after getting gentlemen swept by the New York Knicks. A team that many thought could make some noise after acquiring superstar Donovan Mitchell from Utah did not meet expectations. This roster has many holes that I think need to be filled quickly before Mitchell's contract is up in a few years. To start, their biggest needs are overall spacing and outside shooting, specifically at the forward position, as they were not the best three-point shooting team. I fully expect them to make a run at players like Cam Johnson, Harrison Barnes, and Gary Trent Jr. There are many cases where the Cavs would surround Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland with lineups consisting of 2 non-shooting bigs and a non-shooter like Isaac Okoro or Lamar Stevens, and you will just not win that way in today's NBA with that type of personnel. A hot take of mine is that they should move on from one of those 2 big men to space the floor out more for their superstar guards. I don't expect this to happen, however, as Cavs GM Kobe Altman stated that they will not make any big changes this summer. However, I think Cleveland will quickly realize that their window to build a championship team with the roster that they have now is not as big as they originally thought after trading for Donovan Mitchell. So I do expect Cleveland to be in many rumors centered around star players this offseason. Now this next team is a team that would absolutely not be in this video if it weren't for injuries. The 5th-seeded LA Clippers conceded to the Phoenix Suns in 5 games. Now this team should not and would not be out of the playoffs this fast if it wasn't for the injuries of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. This will be a team that we will be talking about a potential NBA Finals run, but that is not the case, so here's what I expect could be next for them. I think the biggest chatter around the Clippers is whether or not they should move on from Kawhi or PG or even both. There's a simple answer to those talks, and it's that it will not happen. If you can remember, the Clippers have been stuck in the mud ever since the Lob City era, and Kawhi and PG have brought popularity and revenue in for owner Steve Ballmer that he absolutely won't give up easily. I think one of the major reasons for running it back with these two has to do with money, as well as the fact that when they are healthy and playing together, they're one of the best duos in the league. Another player that I expect to be back is Russell Westbrook. Some think that Russ was headed out of the league after his stint with the Lakers, but his career was revived after much success with the Clippers. I think he works very well with this roster alongside PG and Kawhi. Overall, I think the Clippers don't have many changes to make as they have one of the best rosters in the NBA. So this is a rare instance where I expect the team to fully run it back, and I think they will finally see success in that next year. The last West team we got is the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis went out in embarrassing fashion by losing in 6 games to the 7th-seed LA Lakers. The headlines of the series was Dylan Brooks and his choice of words, antics, and poor play throughout the series. However, there are more layers to the Grizzlies' struggles, and I fully expect them to address them this offseason. To start, I do think that they will let Dylan Brooks walk. There's been reports that Memphis will not let Dillon Brooks return under any circumstances. I think that's the right move as he's just a liability on offense despite his great defense. However, their biggest issues right now are like everyone else I've mentioned, wing scorers. I do expect them to make a run at and acquire a player like OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Chris Middleton, and Jeremy Grant. It was very evident during the Lakers series that they did not have enough offensive firepower to keep up. A core of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, and OG Anunoby would give the West fits all year and would put them in prime position to at least make the Western Conference Finals. Memphis is also good at developing in-house players, so a boost in production on the bench is expected as well. With that being said, using their first-round pick on a guy like Trace Jackson Davis will benefit their lineup as well. Overall, I expect an active summer for the Grizzlies as they are only a few pieces away from being a complete team. The last and most shocking team to be first-round exits is the 1-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. The NBA's best record lost in 5 games to the 8-seed Miami Heat. Although Giannis missed multiple games with a back injury, even in his return, the Bucks' holes were glaring. To start, Milwaukee has to get better wing defenders. Throwing Grayson Allen, Joe Ingles, and Chris Middleton on the court at the same time will get you fried up in the playoffs. Even when your best on-ball defender is getting cooked, you know something is wrong. The Bucks also need to take a long look at Mike Budenholzer. I've never been high on him as a coach regardless of their past finals run. Even Giannis questioned his lack of adjustments on Jimmy Butler.
Do you guys feel do you think you made enough adjustments over Jimmy over the stretch of this series?
We didn't. You know, maybe we could have done some, I don't know, maybe double teaming more, try to make him pass the ball. Maybe, I don't know, switch the matchup for a little bit, give Drew a break, 2-3 minutes. But I don't think as a team we made the right, or we didn't make as many adjustments as we could against him.
Lastly, I do think this might be the end of Chris Middleton's era in Milwaukee. I expect him to get significant interest in the summer. Overall, I think Bucks fans should expect a lot of talks and rumors this summer and huge shakeup with their current situation. The first round of the playoffs were super exciting, and as the second round plays through, I'm interested in paying attention to the key holes on each roster. Appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all next video. Peace.